What would you say, you and Joe Jorgensen, do you have like what you'd say like your top issues are that you're
Our
campaigning?
priority is essentially harm reduction. We don't think that in even two terms we can just undo the entire, as we call it in the Libertarian Party, the cult of the omnipotent state. But what we can do is we can greatly scale back and eliminate its worst excesses and abuses against the people. And so those things are ending the wars, bringing the troops home, getting the government out of policing, getting the federal government out of policing. The federal government and policing has led to an increasingly militarized, unaccountable police state whose main functions are revenue collection and enforcing wars against victimless commerce, the war on drugs, the war on sex work, and so forth. That is largely what they exist for. Ending the like things like civil asset forfeiture, ending things like warrantless surveillance and wiretapping, ending things like no-knock raids. All of this stuff, even though some of these things happen at the state and local levels, they're all happening with the sponsorship and the imprimatur of the federal government. So we end these things at the federal level. Getting government out of healthcare, which will reduce the cost of healthcare anywhere from 75 to 90%, depending on who you ask. Getting government out of education. 50 years now, the federal government has been involved in education. They've spent nearly $2 trillion. The literacy rate has dropped during that time. The number of students per teacher has gone up. And of course, the number of administrators per teacher has gone up exponentially by, I think, 2 or 3 orders of magnitude. So instead, or 2 orders of magnitude. So what we do instead, take the power out of the hands of the government and its cronies and the bureaucratic state they've created, put it back in the hands of the teachers and the parents where it always belonged. And really, that's just the theme. Get as much power out of the hands of the federal government as possible, putting it back in the hands of the people where it belongs. Getting rid of the ATF. The government has there's no reason for the federal or even state and local governments to be telling you how you can defend yourself and your loved ones in your community. That's up to you. Getting rid of the Fed and the IRS, which getting rid of the Fed, and I'm talking about preaching to the choir, I don't have to tell you everything that does. It solves inflation, it solves the empire, it solves the cronyism because there's no more federal trough of endless Federal Reserve notes that are printed out, putting the question of currency, the issuance of currency in the hands of the free market so that now they have a vested interest in providing you with sound currency that actually maybe even gains value over time or at the very least doesn't lose value. These are our focuses. Our focus is on getting government out of the things that it should have never been involved in the first place at the federal level. If government is to exist, its only legitimate purpose should be to affirm and protect the lives and rights and property of the people that it presumes jurisdiction over.